Now this series is about moving your $1 million turnover business to a $2 million turnover business. And I know you haven't got to this point without having some systems in place, okay? Without systems, you wouldn't have got here. But again, what got you to here is not what's going to get you to the next level. And it's not as though scaling is just going to be a matter of taking the systems you've got and just, improving them, tweaking them a bit. You're going to have to rebuild a lot of your systems from scratch. And that's not welcome news. But the good thing that comes out of it is that when you rebuild it from scratch, you're building it to match your current business, not the business you had when you were half the size you are now. Now, going back to that experience I told you about in a previous video of me being in the back of an ambulance, suspected stroke, everyone around me is going crazy. How did I get there? I got there because I didn't have my systems working for me. I was the system for a lot of things instead of having systems be the system. Now, it's a year on, I've rebuilt a heap of those systems. I can now go away for a week or 2 weeks at a time, and I know that everything's going to keep ticking over just nicely. Or if imperfectly, at least things will function quite well. Whereas go back a year ago, I was the system. So what had to change? Well, obviously a lot of our processes changed. A lot of how we train staff has changed. It's no longer just, one-on-one sort of, here's how you do things. There's some video training. There's a lot of other little components that go in the training that it's almost automated now. And then even say the phone calls that our staff will have with, new clients or existing customers, those phone calls are scripted now. We know what we want to get across and we know how we're going to get it across. And so everyone who's on the front line phone calls, they're not having to be trained from scratch over weeks and weeks. They've got the script in front of them, they can do this. Other systems we've improved is our emailing system. We used to just be dealing with emails the way that most companies do. We've got another product now called Zendesk, which is, it's like a ticketing system for your emails. It means you can't really lose sight of emails or you can't overlook emails. And it helps you categorize them. And then the benefit of that particular product that I like is that it's full of templates. So it's like, oh, someone's saying that their child is sick, they need a catch-up session. I click 3 buttons, I've got the template, I write in the day that they wanted, and bam, it's gone. So it's changed a 3-minute email to a 30-second email. So that's, I'm not saying you need that particular system, I'm saying you need systems, and you need systems that will serve you well, because what got you to where you are, you keep those systems without improving them, and your profitability just won't be there. Moving from the $1 million to the $2 million turnover point, you're going to do a whole lot less sort of using staff to get things done and a whole lot more using technology to get things done. So if I look at, say, how we deal with our text messages, how we deal with our emails, if I look at, say, my client relationship management software, every step of the way, we've just got all this extra software we never used to have because we need it now. The alternative to having this software would be that we would have a lot of chaos, a lot of drama, a lot of unnecessary complaints that then we'd be putting our time into. Our policies are more systematized than back when we were at the $1 million mark. When you're at that smaller scale, you can sort of give a lot of leeway to people, especially people you've got a relationship with. But when you're scaling, you might have a relationship with that client, but the other 4 staff members don't. So they can't be just basing their decisions on what your relationship is with that client, because you're not the one dealing with that client. You probably haven't dealt with them for a year. They need to have really clear watertight policies of here's what we do, here's what we don't do. When it's grey area, here's what we do in that situation to make it less grey, because those consistently delivered policies are part of scaling. How you deal with complaints needs to be systematized as well. Now, back when you were a $1 million business, you could jump on the phone, you could deal with the complaint. You'd sort of just go, oh, I've got the leeway to do such and such, bam, done. Whereas the more you scale and the more other staff are involved in dealing with complaints and resolving them well, the more you need systems and processes to do that. And just an aside on complaints is I personally deal with a lot of the complaints that come through our business, or a lot of the medium level ones. The low level ones I'm not worried about. The medium level ones, if it's a medium level complaint, I want to know about it. I either want to know what we did to solve it for that client, or I want to have some sort of input into going, well, where did the system break? How did this happen? So that we can tweak our systems for the future. And by me having still some role in the complaints processes and being aware of those complaints, it's almost like I've got my radar up for, what systems need developing at this point. Another system that I hope you've got in place, though I doubt it, is that the payments and the invoicing can't be what it has been if you're going to scale. So when we were a $1 million turnover business, we could just invoice people and they would pay us. But now that I've got, say, 600 clients I'm dealing with, I can't just send an invoice and hope that someone pays it. Imagine how much time and energy I'd spend chasing that up, or my team would spend dealing with the overdue payments. So now we've got people on an automated direct debit system. So they gave us their credit card details. It's basically a subscription system, really. And now that money just keeps rolling off their credit card. And the only reason we would need to contact them about payments is if their credit card failed or something like that. So the payment systems that served you before won't serve you now, because the more you scale, the less relationship you've got with your customers, less personal relationship, so the less they're going to feel accountable to pay you, and that's where your systems come in and do that for you. Now, I told you earlier in this series that I spend about 30 hours a week doing my work. Of those 30 hours, about half of them are systematizing sort of issues. Issues where I look at what our processes are, what our systems are, what our policies are, what our technology is, and go, all right, what needs to happen so that we can do more with less, so we can get more output for less energy and less thought and less stress. So I hope to reduce my working hours further as the year goes on, but where I'm going to be really putting my time is into making sure our processes work, making sure our systems work, and making sure that I'm training up others who can improve our processes and our systems as I step more out of that.